Welcome back to another edition of the Witsup Weekly Grind. We've got a few things to get through at the moment. Despite there being no races, there's still plenty of news out there that we are bringing to you. And straight off the bat, we are chatting to Charles Adamo, Chairman of the Professional Triathletes Organisation. Welcome for the first time ever to the Witsup Weekly Grind, Charles Adamo.
Great, Steph. Happy to be here. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for getting up early on your side of the world as well to have a chat with us.
No worries.
Let's get stuck straight in. The PTO seem to be, bringing out quite a few different bits of news in the past few weeks, which is all very exciting. The latest bit of news was the Middle Distance World Championships in Daytona in December with $1 million prize purse for the professional triathletes. How long has this been grinding away in the background before you announced it?
Well, we were looking a little bit at things earlier in the year, but mostly focused on the Collins Cup, which is where was going to be our big flagship event. When it became clear that that was not going to be able to happen, we started earnestly looking at, okay, this doesn't not look like a good environment. Let's see what we could do kind of as late in the year as possible to get these athletes an opportunity to earn some money.
So with that being said, is it kind of replacing the Collins Cup, or in the future you hope to bring both of these events to professional triathletes and age groupers as well in terms of the entire weekend festival?
Yeah, so the Collins Cup, it's not replacing the Collins Cup. It will always continue to be an annual event. As part of the plan, generally, we were looking to host a few other major events. But to be fair, we were focusing on a Collins Cup as the launch of that. This is just fortuitous that we now have this opportunity, and we'll see where it leads kind of in the future. But we'll, on top of the Collins Cup, which is now in May 2021, we'll be looking to do other events where professionals get good compensation and get to compete with the top people all there. Yeah.
So congratulations, $1 million prize purse is nothing to sneeze at. That's incredible. Does that come from a different investor? Are you allowed to even divulge that kind of information?
Yeah, no, sure. It's all part of the organization. As you recall, you may or may not know, PTO is set up where it's a 50-50 joint venture with the commercial partners on all commercial activities. So the pros own 50% and get entitled to 50% of everything, and as does the investor. So it's all the same group. And what it really tells you is that the investor group treats professionals like assets. They need to be invested in. They're not expense items that you just try to cut as low as possible to produce profits. And the professionals share in the profits, so they have every incentive to work hard. So the thing, ultimately, the organization does well. But in the meantime, the professionals are suffering. There's no racing. Very few of them, the sponsors are being cut. So they're not getting paid anything by anybody. And a lot of them don't have unemployment because they're not employees of anybody. So, our investment team sat down and just said, hey, these are our assets, and they're being neglected. So we need to make sure that, we give them opportunities to race, and obviously we paid out the bonus early as well.
Which was fantastic, unheard of. And as we saw, other sports were looking to our sport and the PTO for leading the charge in looking after professional athletes. So congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, it's just consistent with the mandate that athletes are assets. You don't let your assets decline for lack of investment. Yeah.
Yep.
They're very, very valuable to the sport. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the announcement of the Middle Distance World Championships to be raced in December, I assume you want to race obviously in the hopes of the event going ahead, but realistically, What do you think it looks like in, I guess, the world that we're living in at the moment, in terms of international travel, I should say, and actually getting athletes to the event?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. So I would be somewhere between foolish and a moron to say that I know what's going to be happening in December or even next week, right? What we did is we looked at kind of the world environment. We looked at the kind of geographical locations, and we said, Florida could be really good. If any place is going to open, and the airlift to Orlando is the best probably in the world. There's direct flights, if there are flights, from pretty much every major European city to Orlando, giving Disney and Universal and all the things that go on in Orlando. So we don't know for sure 100% whether this is going to be able to happen based on the environment. What we do know is that if it can happen anywhere, it can happen there, and we needed to get out ahead of it. And this is also, again, part of the investment in the athletes in the sport, because this takes preparation and investment. You can't just say, okay, it's now November and things look good, right? Yeah. So we need to get out ahead, and particularly when we talk about one of the things that we really want to move the needle on is broadcast. So we're going to do a proper broadcast, and the great thing about Daytona and the people there is the broadcast capabilities are just on steroids. I mean, you basically have the Daytona International Speedway, which already broadcasts one of the most iconic events on the sporting calendar for racing. It has, just to give you an example, it has 100 fixed cameras on its site that can film broadcasts.
Wow.
As opposed to people chasing around on a motorcycle. So it takes investment. We want to be prepared to deliver that product if racing opens up. And it'll be great for the sport, we hope, and great for the athletes, both age grouper and professionals alike.
So what's plan B, plan C in terms of the world as we know it? Is there an opportunity, say, for example, unfortunately, maybe age groupers can't race just because of the sheer volume of age groupers, and maybe you just bring a professional race? I don't know, I'm just riffing here, but are there plan Bs and Cs that you can divulge?
Yeah, well, no, we'll look at that, because there's lots of contingencies, and you're exactly right. You're very smart, because professional sport right now looks exactly like that. They're going to have football matches here in the UK without fans, right? So it's the equivalent potentially if it just says you can't have mass participation. Can you have 40 pros? Maybe. Well, we don't know, but we're not shy. We'd be very happy to do that if that's what the situation requires. Because we think that the community, just like the other sports communities, are really desperate to see some great competition. And it would be sad if age groupers couldn't participate, just like it would be sad if the Liverpool fans can't go to their football match. But at the same time, there's a benefit to having a broadcast and celebrating the sport, at least at that professional level, for having at least come out a little bit of this dark tunnel we seem to be in.
Definitely. How do, and I may have missed something, but how do pros qualify for this event? Is there a qualification process, or is it open slather?
Yeah, well, so it is World Championships, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But we also have very fortuitously our world rankings, which really are quite phenomenal in identifying the top professionals. In fact, until we came out with them a few years ago, people actually didn't know where they were relative to other athletes when you kind of got down after the top 3 or 4. The space was really dominated by who does best in Hawaii, which, to be fair, isn't necessarily the best triathlete in the world all the time, because it's a particular course. It's got climate that's not suitable for some racers. It would be as if you had the French Open tennis be the only major tennis tournament. Yep. You would never have heard of Roger Federer, ever, because he's only won one.
Yep.
Right. So the great thing about our system, it measures athletes, all different courses, all different, middle distance and long distance. And it's a good reflection of where they were. So the top 40 will automatically qualify for our World Championship. And then we'll probably have some wild cards like Wimbledon has. Chooses wild cards. They'll be based on people who might have been injured and didn't get back in time to get points, but clearly are healthy enough to perform well.
Yep.
And there are obviously some athletes who straddle both Olympic and middle distance, who might not have enough races to be in our rankings, and they'll be eligible for qualifying for wild cards. And then we'll see if there are any other races near the end of the year for people outside the top 40, whether we can have one or two kind of qualifying races. These are all, being decided now because it's all new, but clearly the top 40, and there'll be some wild cards.
Right. And pros to be told about this, do they need to be signed up to the Professional Triathletes Organisation? Is that how they're getting told, being made aware of this event?
Yes. Yeah. So we already have, over 300 signed up. And as you probably know, there's no barrier to signing up. Mm-hmm. Every pro is eligible to sign up, and there's no cost to signing up. And they get communicated with by the PTO athlete board about the nature of the qualification and the event. Yeah.
Has a distance been secured in terms of the actual race?
Yeah. So it's going to be a middle distance race. Yeah. Somewhere around half distance. We don't have it precisely nailed down. Facilities. We're looking at what the track facilities. I think it's about a 4-kilometer loop.
Right.
So we'll be working through, but it'll be approximately a half distance. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, I guess the burning question on many people's lips and at the end of their fingertips, probably more so, is it is scheduled to be a week after the Ironman 70.3 World Championships. Talk me through the decision of that.
Yeah, so there wasn't any decision other than we wanted to look as late in the season as possible, mm-hmm. In the most kind of user-friendly location. So that's why Orlando hit it, the team at Challenge Daytona and Daytona Speedway have been fantastic. Yeah. But this is a very sport iconic location. It's just not available for us to choose when we want to have it. It's like reserving, some huge wedding venue that everybody wants. Okay, you can't dictate to them what date you want. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. We spoke to some athletes. If there is travel, people think they can do both. It's up to them. Obviously, we just needed to make sure. Again, for us, our athletes aren't getting paid anything, and it doesn't look like there's going to be much racing to get paid anything. So we wanted to just provide opportunity for them to earn some money in 2020. Yeah. And we really, because so many races are canceled, there's going to be, if there is racing in the fall and the winter, there will be a scrum of races, no doubt. Yeah. But we just needed to provide a platform for them to get some real economics. And again, the location didn't really have other dates available for us.
Sure. So if, say for example, maybe you're only allowed to travel within North America, so within your own continent or whatever, will you still go ahead with it? Say the Aussies and the Kiwis, I think we're going to be the last ones to open up our borders. But will you still refer to it as a world championship? Do you think you'll still run it maybe under another kind of North American championship? I don't know.
Hard to say. I mean, again, even the term world championship, every world championship has different levels of fields. Some of them, don't attract all the top people necessarily in a particular year based on their location. So it's hard to answer right now. We'll see where everyone comes around. But we clearly want all the Kiwis and Australians there if they could make it, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? It might end up being Ironman 70.3 World Champs for the Aussies and the Kiwis, and then the race at Challenge Daytona for the North Americans. You might have to find another one in Europe so that they can have their own little World Championships over there.
Yeah, well, the Challenge Championship is pretty close to that, I think. So we'll see how those guys get on. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you can get them going right up until Christmas. Three weeks in a row. Bang! There's all their Christmas money.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully, a lot for those athletes to do. So.
Yeah. Just last question, and I know that things are moving sort of at. Some days it feels like the world is standing still, but I know behind the scenes, things are moving at a rate of knots. Have there been any updates since you announced the middle distance world championships, and any other feedback that you guys have received?
No updates really. Feedback has been great. I think everyone was really pleased that that we've done this. Mostly, the athletes' response was, "There's something to train for. There's something on the horizon." I mean, it's as firm as anything else out there, and it's obviously significant economics. We've been very lucky to be working with the USAT together as part of this. They're the local governing body in the area, and they've been super supportive. Bill Christie at the Daytona, fantastic, just loves the sport, loves the professionals, really supportive. So I think we're happy to be and grateful to have been able to provide something for people to hope for.
Yeah, sure.
And again, we'll continue to monitor it. But if anything is going to happen this year, I would imagine that this would be it, given its location and its the time of the year.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. Sorry for the stuff up. For those of you who don't know, I was meant to catch up with Charles about 12 hours ago or 10 hours ago, and I stuffed up. So thank you for being very flexible with your time. Congrats on everything that you're doing. And yeah, keep us posted. Hopefully we'll see you in December.
Yeah, nope, fantastic. Love to see you there, Steph. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Charles. Bye-bye.
Right. Cheers, bye.
Alrighty, folks, there you have it from the chairman of the Professional Triathletes Organisation, Charles Adamo. I'm just going to quickly say goodbye to him on Skype. Thanks, Charles. I'm going to keep going with the Witsup Weekly Grind, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
See ya. All right, so we are back. The chairman of the Professional Triathletes Organisation. I hope you got a little bit more information about the event that is planned for the end of the year. Like everything else, a lot of things are up in the air. It's not easy, but maybe this gives people an opportunity to have a little bit of a focus, and we'll just see what happens as the days and the weeks roll out. Speaking of races towards the end of the year, I caught up. It wasn't just me. There was a whole bunch of us. We caught up with Andrew Messick, the CEO of the Ironman Group, on my birthday. And what better way to spend my birthday than hanging out with the CEO of the Ironman Group, Andrew Messick. But we spoke to him about plans for the future of Ironman racing, the near future, the future, and then, of course, the hot question on the end of everyone's fingertips is what's going to happen with the Ironman World Championships and the Ironman 70.3 World Championships. If you missed out on the wrap-up that we did with Bevan McKinnon from Fitter, essentially the news out of that, we also penned an article thanks to Jordan Blanco, so you can jump on the website and check that out as well. But the crux of the chat with Andrew Messick was, as far as the Ironman World Championships goes and the Ironman 70.3 World Championships go, we can expect an answer about that by the end of this month. So if you're hanging to find out what's happening with Kona and Topor, which has the 70.3 World Championships, you'll have an answer by the end of May. They're leaning towards I shouldn't say they're leaning towards, but one of the options that they are floating around, and when I say floating, I imagine they're floating but with a strong paddle to really showcase that they are considering it strongly, is moving Kona, so the 2020 version of the Ironman World Championships, to February in 2021, which means next year we will see two World Championships play out, two Ironman World Championships play out within the same year. We have seen it before. It happened back in, and I should always write this down because I get to this part of the statement and I'm like, what year was it? I think it was 1981 where we had two World Championships play out in the same year. So that's what's happening with that. And then the other big news out of that chat with Andrew Messick was that, however Ironman racing starts up again, it's going to look very different. They are really trying to figure out ways to reduce that point of contact with other people throughout the event. And what you have to remember is that an Ironman event isn't just the Sunday race or the Saturday race. It's from the day that you arrive in usually a small community, a small town that hosts the event, right until sort of the after the party, and then when you leave. So on average, you're looking at 5 days worth of contact in a bit of a condensed area in a small town. So they're looking at ways of reducing those touch points throughout the event. So also have a think about how many times you touch things when you're going to pick up your race kits, when you, even through aid stations, through transition, there's a lot of times that you're touching and leaving all your filthy, dirty germs all over the place. So they're looking at ways to minimize that. We will probably be looking at local race, so domestic racing for quite a while, which basically just means as we can't travel internationally, and I don't expect us to be able to travel internationally straight away, we will be looking at all the Aussies racing the Aussie races. The Kiwis will be battling it out over in New Zealand, etc., etc. So there will be a reduction of pure numbers at these events, which is great for drafting, you would think. Social distancing and a smaller amount of triathletes out there should that there is less drafting. But who knows? We shall see. We don't know. I mean, who expects people to cheat in virtual racing? You know, there's always someone, there's always something happening. So anyway, that's how the chat went with Andrew Messick on Friday. If you do have any more questions about how that chat played out, just jump on the website. We did a summary of all the things that they have got planned and announcements in terms of Ironman racing in the future. All right, any more questions about that? I think we've talked about it to death. Let's move on to... my next thing is what happens in ISO stays in ISO, but I haven't actually come up with anything else. So anyone out there, if you are listening, what have you done in this past week that should stay in ISO? The last few weeks, everything that we've talked about seems to revolve around drinking alcohol, and that gin o'clock keeps getting earlier and earlier and earlier. So let me know. What have you been doing in ISO that once we're allowed to run free, you will probably never do again? Let me know. Felicity Caddick has just said, awesome UK weather. Oh, is that in terms of if you're racing just domestically? Yeah, that makes it a bit tough. Yep, for sure. Good thing here is we in Australia definitely won't be racing until September, and that will be on the East Coast, so up in Queensland, and sort of New South Wales, but typically it's a little bit warmer. If they said that we were racing in Melbourne, might be a different story. Okay, favourite thing that has happened this week. Well, I've got to say it was my birthday on Friday. I was feeling a little bit glum about it, I have to admit. I am very much an extrovert and love to hang out with my peoples. So to be quite honest, I was feeling a little bit down about my birthday. But my friends stepped up to the plate and smashed it out of the park. Surprised me. I'm one of those people who's very hard to surprise because I'm usually the one that's organising everything. So I was very impressed that my mates managed to surprise me in a world where we're staying at home in sort of self-isolation. So that was my favourite thing in the past week. Joe said, what happens in ISO stays in ISO story. Are you going to send me one through? Please let me know. Felicity. Here we go. This is what Felicity did. Let's throw that up on the screen. I tidied out my cardigan drawer and realised A, I have the same Gap cardigan in 10 different colours, and B, I have a cardigan drawer. Felicity! Cardigans! Cardigans! Can you feel the judgment through the lens? Can you feel me judging you? There's a lot of judging. A cardigan. I don't think I own a cardigan. Wow. All right, let's move on to some other ISO stories. I still love you, Felicity. Joe has said, here's what happened. Oh, here we go. So I can see the comment just in the corner, and all I can see is a poo emoji. So it makes me a little bit concerned to be throwing this up on the screen. But we're going to do it. We're going to jump in the deep end. We're going to throw it up on the screen. Let's see what Joe Coombe has to say. Joe Coombe, long run yesterday and 30 minutes in shit emergency. Made it to toilet at Sports Pavilion. Oh, okay. 30 minutes in, there was a shit emergency. I thought you meant that, and 30 minutes in, you had to go to emergency and it was shit. So I was like, oh my God, is she fallen over or something? No. In a shit emergency, made it to the toilet at Sports Pavilion. Closed due to COVID. Had to go behind the building. Oh my goodness. Joe, I'm going to be honest with you. I've got a very similar story, but it didn't happen during COVID, so I don't have an excuse. And I'm not going to say anything else, nothing else, but you are not alone in those shitty... Wait, is there a boom boom ching sound on here? Hang on. In that shitty... Close enough. Circumstances. All right. Anyone else? What happens in ISO stays in ISO unless, you share it with the whole world. Anything else? Tanya. I think this is a fave thing, not a what happens in ISO stays in ISO. Tanya there was a sunflower field in bloom and I got to have a wander through them. So a sunflower field is one of those things that I would love to photograph, but I never sort of have the time or kind of know where one is. Are there sunflower fields in Melbourne? Close to Glen Huntly would be very handy. Thank you very much. I would love to check that out. Maybe get the drone. The drone up above a sunflower field would look pretty cool. That's a nice thing that happened this week. I like that. Oh, do you know what we didn't talk about? And I'm glad that Joe is online. How brutal was Chef Bretty in the Witsup Rate My Food? Brutal. He gave Lindsay Corbin 3 out of 10. And, she's got a professional photographer taking photos of her food. I don't know. It was salmon and rice and vegetables, I think. And I don't even eat salmon. I don't like seafood or fish or anything. And even I looked at it and was like, oh, that looks pretty good. If you replace the salmon with chicken, I'd be all over it. And he gave it a 3. A 3 out of 10. Now you know why I don't cook at home, because that's the kind of rating he gives someone who is a very good cook at home. So why would I cook at home when he's giving someone 3 out of 10 who's great? I don't know. Tough. We're going to have to get him to loosen his chef's hat a little bit. Otherwise, I don't think anyone is going to send in any of their food to be rated. Felicity's just said, got to get to the shop and I can buy got to get the shop open, our shop, and I can buy a hoodie instead of a cardigan. Absolutely, I am getting on top of that. While we're just talking about the shop, it's going to happen. I need to warn you, though, there is, from what I understand, there's going to be a delay in shipping. So as long as you know that it's not going to arrive on your doorstep in, 24 hours, then have at it. I'm hoping to get that up Wednesday, if I've got a few more things nailed with it. Latest Thursday, that will be up and ready to go for your online purchasing pleasure. Okay, that is about it from me. We're going to keep this one short and short and sweeter. Thanks for joining in. I hope you got a bit of information out of Charles Adamo about the Middle Distance World Championships in Daytona, which is in conjunction with the PTO Challenge Daytona and the USAT, which is the United States of America Triathlon Organization, USATO, something like that. Keep posting your food. Use the hashtag #WitsUpRateMyFood so you can join in on the next video that we produce. Now, I got a question for you. I thought that I could search for a hashtag on stories because a lot of people are posting them on stories, but I can't seem to find a hashtag when it's on stories. Unless you tag Witsup in it, then I know that you've done it. So maybe we need to tell people to do that. Unless anyone knows any different and has a secret that I'm not aware of. But I know that I've missed a few of the Witsup Rate My Food Instagram stories because they've used the hashtag, but I haven't been able to search for them because I cannot figure out how. I thought you could, but it turns out that you can't. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you very much for joining us. Sorry we were a little bit late, but we wanted to get Charles on the Witsup Weekly Grind this week. If you have any other questions about what's happening in the future of triathlon, shoot them through. We'll do our best to follow up with the powers that be, wherever they come from, and we will get back to you as soon as humanly possible. All right, peace out. Look after yourselves. Have a good afternoon or have a good morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. And I guess I'll see you on the Witsup Weekly Grind next week. We'll go back to the normal time of 1 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. Take care of yourselves and one another.